Of Tony Ferguson, what really happened. The time when Tony Ferguson was feared, not just respected but feared. He was chaos in human form, had a 12-fight win streak in the UFC's most competitive division. A fighter so unorthodox, so violent and so relentless that even champions didn't want to deal with him. And yet now we're watching that same man, once the boogeyman of 155-pounder, suffer loss after loss, visibly slowed, battered and out of place in the division. He once ruled from the shadows, so what happened? How did we go from a man of a 6-fight losing streak? Tony's run from 2013 to 2019 was pure carnage. He beat names like Rafael dos Anjos, Josh Thompson, Edson Barboza, Kevin Lee and Anthony Pettis, all while fighting in a way that made no sense but somehow always worked. No traditional guard, hands low, spinning attacks out of nowhere, elbows like knives, cardio for days, recovery that defied logic, and a mindset that generally seemed trained in unconventional ways. Wing Chun dummies, breakdancing warm-ups, sprinting up hills while shouting champ shit only. It looked wild but it was working. Fighters don't know how to prepare for him. He turned clean strikers into panic wrestlers. He turned BJJ black belts into punching bags and he never stopped coming forward. Tragedy of that era, that fight that never happened. Tony Ferguson vs Khabib Nurmagomedov. Scheduled 5 times and it was cancelled 5 times. This was the fight that would have defined the era, and now we never got it. Instead we got 2020. He was out, COVID had hit, but Tony still accepted a fight for the interim title against Justin Gaethje. That's when everything changed. At UFC 249, Tony Ferguson wasn't just beaten, he was broken. 5 full rounds, Gaethje put on a masterclass of controlled violence. He battered Tony with precise punches, leg kick, never overextended. He stayed patient, he picked his shots, he didn't fall into the chaos. And Tony, he didn't fold, but he absorbed unreal damage. Took over 140 significant strikes to the head. He was wobbled multiple times, and in round 5, after a shot visibly routed his brain, he shook his head like he shouldn't cute the moment. The ref stepped in, witnessed for the first time Tony Ferguson losing a war, not just a fight, a war. Something about him never looked the same afterwards. Since then it's been a slow, painful unraveling. Next up was Charles Oliveira. That fight was a complete domination, not just physically but mentally. Oliveira tossed Tony on the ground, a place where Tony had previously thrived, and when Charles looked up that armbar at the end of round 1, Tony refused to tap. Even as his arm bent backwards, we all saw it. He didn't lose, he suffered, and it was hard to watch. Then came Bernal Darush, another clear decision loss, more takedowns, more control, less fire from Tony. Next, Michael Chandler. Now Chandler's a beast, but that front kick KO in round 2 was brutal. It wasn't just a knockout, it was a stiff, lights out, meme worthy highlight, kind that lives on for years. Tony Ferguson had gone from feared chaos to viral victim. But why? What caused this steep fall? It's not one thing, it's everything. Age. Tony's now in his late 30s. For a lightweight, that's ancient. This is a division built on speed, reflexes and timing. When those go, everything else collapses. And he didn't just fight, he brawled. Every win he took a piece. Love his unorthodox training got. Maybe he was unsustainable. Maybe those wild, unstructured methods never worked when he was young. Didn't evolve with him. No proper sparring, no elite training partners consistent. He's a warrior, but sometimes warriors don't adapt, they double down. After the Gaethje loss, he didn't take the time off, he didn't reassess, he marched forward thinking about pure grit that could carry on. Grit without evolution, it becomes a liability. The game changes fast. Look at the new crop. Makachev, R-Man, technical, explosive and complete. Tony's chaotic pressure style stopped working. Opponents found the blueprint. Newer generation is too smart, too technical and too prepared. Tony Ferguson is still beloved because fans remember the chaos. They remember the wars, the spinning elbows, the blood-soaked victories, the comebacks against Lando Venata. The moment he hurt Gaethje with an uppercut at the end of round 2 and almost turned the tide. He gave everything, and that's why people still chant his name. Not because he's winning, but because he was that guy. So what now? There's a talk of retirement, a talk of one last fight at farewell, maybe a winnable opponent, not a top 5 killer. Maybe that's the way it should end. He may have not been a champion on paper, but in the hearts of fans, Tony Ferguson was a champion.